What's going on, guys? Fearmaky here, bringing you another video. Let's get into it. Let's go deep and keep grinding out there, guys. Let's dive into the video. Let's go. Alright guys, Fearmaky here, bringing you a guide, my very first guide on Tarisland. I've been playing, well, first I started on the Paladin and then fell in love with the Phantom Necromancer. The play style, it's very challenging. I love the rotation and you know, the timings and waiting, the discipline. I just fell in love with the class, and what I'm about to show you guys by no means is the meta, or you know, do I claim to know everything that's going on with the game. I'm learning as I go, like everybody else. And if anybody has any ideas, any different, you know, theorycrafts, please let me know. But my experience with the game the last week, running dungeons, raids, etc., 95% of the times or more, even with friends, I'm on, you know, #1 on the damage meters. So I said, you know, I got to be doing something right, so why not share it with the community and see what they say, and you know, maybe we can come up with something even better, and see how it goes. Keep in mind, my account is not pay to win. I do have the seasonal pass. I don't even know where that is, but that's about it. You can see I don't have any other currency. My reputations aren't even that great. You know, I just haven't farmed them. Where's reputation? Right here, it's only 6, 7, because I've been dumping everything on Silver Links. I want to get to rank 8 and, you know, rank 6 here. So it's nothing crazy, you know. It's not a pay-to-win account by any stretch of the imagination. It's not an account where I'm looking at the interactive map and going after every single chest and every node. I have not done that. I guess you can't show the map in this scenario here. But anyways, let's get down to the build. I'm just going to go over my thought process, what I do, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. And then I'll show you gameplay in the dungeons where I'll comment on what I'm doing. And I'm sure, you know, when it comes to a run, nothing is perfect, but at least I'll give you my thought process in my rotation, so that way hopefully you guys can min-max the damage and deal as much damage as I'm doing. So anyways, to start off with, I did move Soul Arrow from #1 skill to #4. It's just better for me on my mouse to press 4 with my thumb. I have an MMO mouse, over, you know, spamming 1 with the reach. But anyways, I have Shadow Blade on 1, I have Soul Trap on 2, I have Bone Spirit on 3, and I have Soul Arrow on 4, and Soul Elegy, and Soul Burst. I'm not going to go over the finer details of what each one does. There's hundreds of videos out there already that explains that. But here is the gear that I'm using. I'm focusing everything just like the, you know, game tells you. Your combo will give you your highest damage. Then Omni is equivalent to cooldown, and then, you know, intelligence, focus, and stamina. For the most part, I do have 30% combo, and wherever I can fit cooldown and intelligence, I will. I am favoring probably intelligence a little bit more heavier on some gear, because I want my abilities to hit harder and be more impactful. One other thing, the special aptitudes, I wish I had Bone Spirit on all of my gear, because that is my #1 damaging skill and abilities that I press. But you know, if you get Soul Trap like I got there, and I got Bone Spirit here, it's pretty good too. Or you know, if you get Soul Trap damage here, is also very good. I also have Soul Arrow damage here, which is really good. It's my filler. I also have Shadow Blade damage here, which is massive, and Soul Arrow damage here as well. So my rolls got really lucky, but we'll go over it. So this is my helmet, this is my shoulders, chest, belt, pants, boots, and you guys can pause the video at any time to see the stats yourselves. But it's nothing crazy, and I'm only power level 94. With, as long as you're doing your dungeons every day and raids every day, you can achieve this. Okay. So now let's go over the, I'll go over the inscribed stone tree. Again, I'm not a specialist at this. I just put a point at every single tree, favoring intelligence and cooldown where I could. so you guys can just copy that. I'll go over the glyphs after, and then, you know, went all the way up to a specialized effect. Eventually, when I have enough experience, I'm going to drop these points and put a point in stamina, and the main attribute, and a point of focus and resonance to get the final core node. But since I don't have enough experience, I just went up to the specialized effect there, and I have one here. But once I have enough experience, I'm going to drop both of them to get the core first, and then I'll spread out to the specialized core. But if you guys have any ideas in the comments below on what, you know, Scribe Stone would deal the most damage, let me know. I've tried only a couple of variations, and this to me works the best. So let's go down to the high energy potion glyph. I'm going to call them, well, I guess they're emblems. This is a very good emblem. It procs, you know, for 15 seconds you get increased damage, bonus and damage healing throughout the dungeon, and it procs all the time. It's always up. Same thing with Strive. This is very good as well. I think it deals about 2 to 3% of your damage overall at the end of a dungeon. The next stone emblem I'm using is Sprawl. This is very good as well. It's consistent dot damage on the target. I have it maxed out at 10. Then I have Out of Control emblem. Each time you deal direct damage to a target, it's a 13% chance to deal 60% of your attack, so it's a pretty big hit. I do run with, I think, about 610 attack power when all my procs and buffs are going. And then I have Intertwined Fates. I had Burst here before, but Burst overall in the dungeon was only doing like 2,000 damage. It was really low. So I decided to swap to Intertwined Fates for the 15-second attack power increase, and then you also get defense after 15 seconds, and it keeps cycling, right? Like a convention of elements in Diablo 3. But that's that for the Inscribed Stone. The talents I run with are right here. 3 Shadow Mist, 3 Strong Souls. This right here, obviously you get a buff. I'll explain my thought process with the talents because there is something to it. So each time, each combo increases your attack power by 3.6% for 8 seconds. So each time, and we will be comboing with our spec and our build. So you want this 3.6% damage buff going on at all the times. Pretty much it's going to be up like 80% of the time, if not 100%. So you definitely want that first. Second, your combo rate is increased by 3%. That allows us to get us to 30% combo rate, which is huge. Then Strong Soul. While Spectral is active, each of your Soul Trap attacks deal damage equal to 90% of your attack power, which is why I'm also favoring some intelligence and higher attack power, because each time we're doing the Soul Trap, we're going to be dealing 90% more damage based off our attack with it. Tomb Finale. After casting Soul Trap, there's a 12% chance of casting the next Soul Elegy without consuming Soul Energy, and instead it'll increase your Soul by 1. So what that is your number 5. As you're casting Soul Trap, your number 2 channel to get your souls back, this can proc into a combo, and instead of spending your souls, it actually gives you souls back, which you want to hit that all the time. Keep building up your soul stacks. Then you have, you know, the regular increased 13% arrow damage, which is your filler, but it'll also be your big burst. I'll explain that later. Then Soul Pact. Every Bone Spirit is cast increases the duration of your next spectral by 1 second, stacking up to 3 stacks. So this is massive because you want your spectral to last longer to allow time for your Soul Trap to recharge, so that way you don't have too much downtime in between doing the rotation I'm going to show you. Oh my god. So that is pretty big. Each time you cast your Bone Spirit while it's out, it'll increase the next one that you summon by 3 seconds. So that's pretty big. And the more you have a spectral out, the more damage you're dealing, the more souls you're gathering, etc. Shadow Blade deals 30% of your damage. Your combo damage is increased by an additional 30% within 6 seconds. This is a huge burst and opener. This is why when we, you know, have our spectral out and we pop Shadow Blade to get the 5 soul energies right away, then we just pop Soul Burst to get the 8-second buff and make our Soul Arrow become Soul Arrow Plus, and then we just burst 5 Soul Arrows into the target with massive damage because of the Shadow Blade buff increase in our combo. And because we're doing Soul Burst, the Soul Arrow it will always be a combo attack, right? So it's always going to be dealing 30% more damage for that next 6 seconds and also the next 5 attacks. So you want to pop Shadow Blade, Soul Burst, and then cast 5 Soul Arrows, because then you'll benefit from the 30% and the 5 arrows will be plus addition so much damage. But I'll explain that. You know, that's why the rotation will be what it is, because of these synergies. Soul Trap deals 13% more damage, reducing its channel time by 0.6 seconds. This is massive as well. You want to be able to channel pretty quickly so you can go right back into your Bone Spirit, into spending. You don't want to be channeling for, you know, for a long time and not dumping your energy into the mob. So you definitely want that as well. And in addition, while you're doing channeling the Soul Trap, you're going to be dishing out more damage. Sin Bearer. Also, this, I was wondering, like, what is Sin Bearer on the damage logs? I've always, like, wondered what that is right there. I mean, it doesn't deal that much damage, but I mean, this is a dummy test. In the dungeon it deals decent, but I'm like, where is that coming from? Anyway, Sin Bearer. Each time your Soul Arrow, Bone Spirit, or Tangled Soul hits a target, it inflicts 1 stack, and at 10 stacks you deal damage equal to 120% of your attack. Since I'm running with 558 attack, but one of my buffs are going and the intertwined glyph or emblem is rolling, it's like 610 attack. So you're dishing out, you know, 120% of that once you get 10 stacks, and you're gonna get 10 stacks pretty quickly. So it's just gonna be burst on top of burst. Bone Temper. Bone Spirit deals 21% more damage in your Spectral's attacks by increasing the Spectral's attack by 21%. This is a no-brainer. Your Bone Spirit will be your huge dump, so you want it to deal as much damage as possible. And on top of that, your Shadow Wraith or Spectral will be dealing 21% more damage as well. Will increase 20, yeah. In Umbra Flood, every 15 souls consumed increases your combo damage by 30% for 10 seconds. This is very good as well. I did change my build around. I know I'm losing 15% here, but I couldn't fit the extra point here for the extra 15% for the 10 seconds, but the 30% is fine. From my test on the dummies and etc., I was able to get more consistent higher damage by keeping my points the way they are. If you guys can find a better way, let me know. Soul Burst additionally increases attack by 5% and lasts 3 seconds longer. And when using Soul Burst, the remaining cooldown of Shadow Blade is reduced by 66%. This would allows us to do our rotation pretty quickly and keep our soul energies, you know, consistently high, so we can keep dumping Bone Spirits onto the target. So anyways, the rotation is this. I'll try to go over. I'm gonna go slow. I'm not gonna try to min-max damage right now. I'll do that after. But just so you understand what's happening, you're gonna cast 2 Soul Traps right away. You're not gonna start out with your burst. I'll just explain it to you. I'm bad at explaining this, but this is how my brain works. You do 2 Soul Traps, 1, you get 3 soul energies. You cast it again, you get 6 soul energies. Then you spend your Spectral to summon your Wraith right there. Then as soon as that spawns, you hit your Shadow Blade into Soul Burst. Shadow Blade, Soul Burst, then you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your burst. And then you go right into Bone Spirit, and then you cast Soul Trap again to get 5. You go keep your Wraith out, cast your combo Soul Elegy, and then you go right back into your Shadow Blade. You always want to keep Shadow Blade in your Soul Trap on cooldowns. Like, you don't want to have 2 charges of Soul Trap and wasting it, right? You always want to keep it on cooldown, so that way it's getting a charge at all times. So now there's going to come a rotation here where I'm not trying to min-max damage here at all. I'm telling you guys my thought process so you can see when I start doing the actual rotation, you'll see how much damage we'll get up to. But you see how I ran out of the Wraith? Now I'm at 4. I'm not going to cast it. I'm going to wait for Soul Trap to come up, cast it. That way I get my Wraith back up. You want to maintain your Wraith uptime as maximum as possible. And now I'm going to cast Shadow Blade right back into Soul Burst, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 immediately into that, and then you keep dumping your Bone Spirit. Okay, so that's the idea of it right there. And you never want to be capped out on Soul Trap, because you want, you get 2 charges, so you want the charges to always be on cooldown. Same thing with your Shadow Blade. And there will come a time when I'm doing the rotation, you'll see as I'm doing dungeons, or even when I do the practice DPS test here, that I'm gonna hold my Shadow Blade until Soul Burst comes up, if they're like within an 8 to 10 second window of each other. And also, if my Wraith timer is about to run out, I'm gonna hold on to 2 soul energies like I'm doing now and cast Soul Trap, so that way I get 5 stacks and I put my Wraith right back out immediately. So it's a balance between spending your Soul Trap, spending your Bone Spirit, but once your Wraith timer is really low, you don't want to send all your Bone Spirit charges. You want to hold on to it, so that way the moment it expires, you send 1 Soul Trap, you boom, put the Wraith back out there. You always want to keep your Wraith out for consistent damage and soul energy buildup. Okay, so let's do a damage test here. I'll do a full 2-minute rotation, and what I mean by that is I'll show you him. So my Soul Burst is on 56-second cooldown, right? So we'll do it'll be like a whatever. We'll just round it up to 2 minutes. When I do my second Soul Burst and I do all my casts, I'll stop DPSing, and that'll be the damage check for us. But I'm gonna focus on the rotation here and show you what it is. So just keep paying attention to the bars. I'll try to go over what I'm doing. I'm casting 2 Soul Traps into 3. I do my 1, then I'm gonna do my burst. Okay, I'm dumping Bone Spirits. I'm gonna do a Soul Trap so it doesn't back up on charge. I'll do my Shadow Blade because it came up. Okay, so my Wraith is about to run out. I'm gonna hold that 2 stacks there. Now I'm gonna cast it, Soul Trap, and then get it back out right away. I am gonna dump it all now because I know Shadow Blade's back up and Soul Burst is about to come up. So I don't want to spend, so I'm gonna hold on to 2 because I don't want to spend my Shadow Blade until I have my Wraith out. Now I spend it, then I send it, boom. And that's it right there. And that's pretty much the rotation. And you never want to send Shadow Blade when you have 5. You always want to send when you have 4 or less soul energy, because the moment you send Shadow Blade, you get 5 right away. So you don't want to waste a point by sending it at 5+. So just remember that. Okay, and then your Inscribed Stone, I use that like I would use it here now as a filler to get up to 5 stacks right away. Sometimes I try to line it up with the Wraith that's coming down as well, and I make sure I get to 9 energy and then I dump. That's pretty much it. But that's the build, guys. That's the rotation. Alright guys, so to summarize, the rotation is you cast 2 Soul Traps into Bone Spirit to summon the Wraith. Then you cast Shadow Blade into Soul Burst, and then you cast 5 Soul Arrow plus 5 of them, and then you just keep dumping Bone Spirit and spending Soul Traps. Once again, start the rotation with 2 Soul Traps, into Bone Spirit, into Shadow Blade, into Soul Burst, and then spend 5 Soul Arrows. And then just keep dumping Bone Spirits and spending your Soul Trap. Alrighty? Good luck, fellas. GG's.